Hi everybody, I am Todd Kiper Berman Jr. and welcome to Todd's 10 Week 4 Fantasy Preview for the F09/S10 League. I am again your host, Todd Kiper Berman Jr. That's right, we're standing up, folks. Today we're standing up for the right. We're talking about voting everywhere, voting for stuff, voting Prop 22, Prop 3, Prop 4. This is Prop football right here, folks. That's right, we're talking about fantasy football. And again, we're doing the Week 4 preview. Again, if I cut off my head, French Revolution inspired guillotine, Robespierre, Napoleon, all those little guys, short man syndrome not coming into play here. Todd Kiper Berman Jr. stands a solid 6 foot tall. That is the average male height. So let's just get right into it. Let's not waste your time. A lot of important people here in this fantasy league. A lot of important matchups this week after following up what was a historic Week 3 that featured a tie at 139.3. Two huge point totals, two huge ties, two teams at top of the standings. We'll get to those in a little bit. So let's go right into it. Let's preview our first matchup, folks. That's right, we're fetching Edson Yanger and Campers Gotta Camp. We're going right away with the first matchup of the week with the matchup of the week. That's right, Todd's 10 matchup of the week. Jordan Mallon going against Matt LeCamp. Camper's still camping, Mallon still fetching Edson Yanger. Both to 2-1 records, both right there in the playoff hunt. Let's get right to it. Looking at the quarterback position, Dak Prescott going against Cleveland, Matt Ryan going against Green Bay. I'd say it's a pretty even matchup. I think Matt Ryan probably has the point matchup just because I think it's going to be a shootout going against the Packers. Falcons are going to need to get a lot of points. They look for a lot of garbage time points for Matt Ryan. Looking at the running back position for Jordan Mallon, you have Todd Gurley, James Robinson. And continuing on with the wide receivers, Devontae Parker, Marvin Jones, George Kittle versus Miles Sanders, Aaron Jones, Stephon Diggs, Darius Slayton, and Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz going to be capitalizing off the additional targets because Dallas Goedert was out, fractured that ankle, snapped it, 1-2 pieces, maybe even 3. Either way, his ankle is not fully together, and therefore that's a fully complete game for Zach Ertz. Going to get a lot of targets there for the Philadelphia Eagles. I really like that running back room for the Matt LeCamp. Camper's got a camp. It's a stacked running back room, so I'm going to have to give the advantage to Matt LeCamp. Although a decent roster here for Jordan Mallon. Marvin Jones always a sneaky play. Looking at the flex position, this is where Jordan Mallon really takes the cake. He's got Michael Thomas versus Jerick McKinnon. Jerick McKinnon, not sure what you're going to get out of this week. Was a little dinged up, perennially dinged up over the past couple years. Michael Thomas also dinged up if he plays for Mallon. That's where he has the advantage, and that's where I'm going to go. Also, not only our matchup of the week, but the advantage of the week. That's right. Todd Kiper Berman Jr. is predicting Michael Thomas had the biggest advantage of the week in that flex position. Now, looking at the defense, the New York Broncos going against what is the abysmal, New York Jets. Sam Darnold famously said he's seeing ghosts. He's seeing all kinds of ghosts. He's seeing Zool from Ghostbusters. He's wishing for the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man to go away. He's seeing Stay Puft Marshmallow Man all over the field, throwing picks, not throwing dimes, throwing nickels. Those are interceptions. I think the Broncos have the advantage there for Matt LeCamp. He is predicted to win 128.9 to 123.3. And guess what? I'm going to have to agree with that prediction. Camper keeps on camping, going up to the Northwoods, trying new landscapes, probably going to Arkansas, maybe the Boot Heel, seeing what they have to offer down there. Beautiful fall weather in the Midwest. Beautiful victory for Matt LeCamp, which will be a tight one, though, in our matchup of the week. That's right, we're getting to it right away. Let's move into our second matchup of the week. That's right, One Nation Under Todd Point Part 2 versus Is the Geist Worth the Squeeze? Best name in the league, not the best team in the league, though. Although, he is barely. The predictions are tight in this one. 122.4 for Kohler, 120.8 for Mike Malone. Let's see if he can squeeze that tangerine juice. This broadcast, of course, brought to you by Tangerine Juice. Tangerine Juice. When you want to get your tangerine on, drink Tangerine Juice. Anyways, looking at the quarterback position. These are two teams, by the way, I'll get to it in a second. Quarterback position, Pat Mahomes versus Aaron Rodgers. Kohler coming off a tie last week because of Pat Mahomes' 40-point outburst. That's why you draft him in the third round. He keeps you. He wins you 1 or 2 games in a year, and that's what you need to make playoffs. If you win games, you get closer to the playoffs. That's how fantasy football works. Victories lead to playoffs. Playoffs lead to champions. Championships lead to glory. Kohler's got a few of those under his belt. Give the advantage to Mahomes there going against New England. Can never pick against Mahomes. An absolute seller at the quarterback position. Looking at the running back position, folks, that's right. We got Dalvin Cook, Kareem Hunt for Kohler versus Melvin Gordon and James White. Probably a weak spot, and Mike Malone's team is the running back position. I'm going to have to give the advantage to Kohler. Dalvin Cook coming off a huge week versus what was a pretty good Tennessee Titans run defense. Not anymore. Dalvin Cook shredded him to pieces, put him in the cheese shredder, shredded those potatoes, minced in the garlic. That's what he does. Makes you cry, onions, all that fun stuff. Looking at the wide receiver position, though, this is where it gets a little bit more interesting. DJ Metcalf, Julian Edelman for Brett Kohler, DeAndre Hopkins, Keenan Allen for Mike Malone, both stacked wide receiver rooms, but I'm going to have to give the advantage to Mike Rowan there. Looking at the tight end position, Noah Fant again going up against those helpless New York Jets. I think he has a big day, and I think he has an advantage of Dalton Schultz in Dallas. Although Dalton Schultz getting some of the most red zone targets for a tight end this season, so watch out for him to be a breakout candidate. Looking at the flex position again, this is where Rowan's team really trumps Brett's. Anyways. Julio Jones versus Hunter Renfrow. Looks like Julio Jones is going to be a go this week. Renfrow had a big week last week. Going to see a lot of increased targets with Henry Ruggs and that Edwards guy that they draft like in the 5th round. Not sure his name. I think it's Braylon, maybe Brandon. Something with a B. Probably could be Boss, could be Bose, could be Balloon. Who knows what his name is, but his last name is Edwards, and he is out for the Oakland Raiders right now. So look for increased target share from Hunter Renfrow. Kohler suffering from the Steelers' defense being out due to COVID. Starting the Chiefs' defense against New England, Saints' defense against Detroit. You got to give the advantage there, probably, honestly, to the Chiefs' defense the way they looked last week against Baltimore. That's a really stellar squad. Looking at the kick position, 2 of the best kickers in the game, Tucker versus Lutz. Always give the advantage to Tucker. Always the guy I want on my fantasy team. I'm going to go upset pick of the week. The Geist worth the squeeze, pulls off the upset of One Nation under Todd Part 2. These 2 teams are discussing a trade right now. Tight ends involved. Will Kohler do it just to get the trade, to get the trust back in the league so trades happen? That's what makes the league interesting, is big time trades, and they're working on one right now. I can tell you that, folks. That's a little insider information from Todd Kiper Berman Jr. Moving on to our next matchup, we have the other team that tied. That's right, stay off the weed, duh. Mike Boyd 2-0-1 versus the not playoff Jets. Big name change, big victory last week for Tyler Kane. Let's see if he can follow up with a victory this week. Looking at the matchup, he is predicted to win at 122.8 to 119.2, and I'll tell you why. Looking at the quarterback position, you got Russell Wilson versus Sean Watson. Boyd has Russell. Russell's cooking, man. He's throwing in all those ingredients in the pot. He's making a nice kind of red soup, a beef stew with beef celery. You got a little bit of bay leaves in there, all kinds of stuff. He's dishing, he's dunking, he's diving, he's cooking, he's stirring up the stew. Russell the advantage there at the quarterback position. Looking at the running back position, Josh Jacobs, Nyheim Hines for Boyd, Kamara and Carson for the playoff Jets. You got to get the advantage of Canning there. Kamara having a monster season so far in New Orleans. Drew Brees' arm, of course, is that of an 80-year-old at this point in the field. Can only throw it about this far downfield. I'm going to demonstrate what Drew Brees looks like throwing the football right now. And guess what? Those passes are only going to Kamara. Kamara taking big advantage of that, especially in a 1-point PPR league. Looking at the wide receiver position, Robert Woods, John Brown for Boyd, Kenny Galladay, AJ Green for Tyler Canning. A real toss-up there. I think Robert Woods has a nice game against that suspect New York Giants secondary. Mo Alley Cox versus Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram going to have to play a lot of catch-up there with the New York Giants. I think he gets a lot of targets. Has a nice day. Advantage to the not-playoff Jets. Tyler Lockett versus Jerry Jeudy. Jeudy dinged up a little bit, although a big Thursday night game for him. Let's see what he can do against what is, again, a suspect New York Jets secondary. Really banking on the Broncos here today, having a shit day. Tyler Lockett also going against Miami, though. Russ is cooking. Lockett's his favorite target. Look for him to have a big day. Defenses, real toss-up. Ravens versus Indianapolis. Both teams very good. Kickers really doesn't matter that much. I'm going to go... I can't go against Mike Boyd. He's had a monstrous season. His team's a monster. It's a freight train coming through. You can't stop it. You stand in the middle of the tracks. You get swooshed to a million pieces. Stuff flies everywhere. Guts, gore, the whole 9 yards. Rated R movie. Mike Boyd with the victory this week. Moving on to the next matchup. That's right, we're moving on to teams that I think are pretty evenly matched. That's right. What if Godwin was one of us with Jeff up and mixing things up with Tolman? Tolman mixed things up with a victory last week, and he is favored to win again this week. And again, let's tell you why, because that's what Todd Kiper Berman Jr. does. That's what I'm here for. Again, referring to myself in third person, also what I do. Josh Allen, quarterback for Jeff Up versus Matt Stafford. Got to get the advantage there immediately to Jeff Up. Allen having an absolutely monstrous season so far. That's what we like to call the weatherman transition over to the other side of the screen. If this was a green screen, I'd only be pointing at Boise, Idaho, when I was previously talking about Little Rock, Arkansas. And that's a professional transition. That's what we bring to you here on Todd's 10. Looking at the running back, wide receivers, Edwards-Helaire, Henderson Jr., Odell Beckham, Marquise Brown, Mark Andrews. Put a lot of stock in that Baltimore offense. Really kind of backfired on Jeff Up last week. He's hoping to have a big bounce-back week against what is the Washington football team, hoping to get a name within the next 7 to 10 years. But again, pretty good offense there. I think Edwards-Helaire has a nice day. Looking at Tolman, Mixon, Eckler, Ridley, Will Fuller. Ridley having an absolute phenomenal year, a touchdown machine. You put him in the slot machine, boom, 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 coming up sevens. Calvin Ridley, great draft pick for Chris Tolman. Hitting the button here so my computer doesn't die on me because I almost lost the video earlier, almost deleted it. Now looking at the tight end position, Mark Andrews versus Darren Waller. I actually think Waller's going to have a really nice game against that Buffalo defense. Mark Andrews is going to get a lot of targets. I think both tight ends put up in the excess of 15 points, but I'm going to give the advantage to Waller after what was an off week last week for him. Looking at the flex position, CeeDee Lamb versus Brandon Ayuk. Both talented receivers, both first-round receivers. Let's see what they do here. I think Ayuk could have a big game. He also is versatile getting those reverses, those little jet sweeps. We'll show you how the jet sweep is executed. As a former high school quarterback who played JV in 1 year of varsity, you get the snap, you take a step back, you let him ride through. You ride and read. That's what you do. That's called the read option, the RPO. Sometimes you dink and dunk. That's what the 49ers are known for. Ayuk gets the ball this week. I'm actually going to give the advantage to him because I think Gallup takes away a lot of CeeDee Lamb's targets. That's right, Mary had a little lamb, but CeeDee Lamb not going to have a big game. So I am actually going to go with ESPN here. I'm going to go with their prediction. I think mixing things up is going to mix up a victory. I think although it's going to be a really tough one, I wouldn't be surprised if Godwin was one of us and comes out with a W. Moving on to the next matchup here. That's right, folks. We have Team Sex coming off a huge loss last week to the Loch-Ness. Really thought you won. Was setting it up for a victory celebration for you, Eric Deutsch. Eric Deutsch, he's got a good team. He's got Cam Newton at quarterback. He had a down week last week, looking to bounce back. I think he has the advantage over there over Gardner Minshew. Mustache mania. Love the stash. Love the way he plays football. I think that is a high-scoring game in Cincinnati. Look for both these quarterbacks to put up in the excess of 20 points. Looking at the running back position for Eric Deutsch, Antonio Gibson, Myles Gaskin, both guys that you could probably find on the waiver wire earlier in the year, but since this is a 14-team league, he drafted these guys. That's how good of draft research he did. Although it's not paying off in victory so far, I think it will potentially this week. He is not favored. I forgot to mention that. Anyways, looking at the running back position for the Loch-Ness, that's right, Ezekiel Elliott, David Johnson, Adam Thielen, Russell Gage, not sure where that one's coming from, out of Atlanta. If Julio Jones comes back, might want to look at the lineup there. Eaglehoff, Allen Robinson, Mike Gesicki at the wide receiver, and more for Eric Deutsch. Sorry, I'm stuttering over my words here. This is a lot to take in. This is a huge matchup. A lot on the line here. Does Eaglehoff move towards the top of the standings? Get himself even more secure potentially in that playoff conversation? Does Deutsch bounce back? You don't want to go in that 0-4 hole. If you go in that 0-4 hole, that leads to 0-5 hole, which leads to the 0-6 hole. Then you're getting to the core of the earth, and it's very hot down there. You burn, boom. That's the end of it for Team Sex. Not looking to have that this week. Looking at the flex position, Terry McLaurin versus Justin Jefferson. Jefferson coming off a huge week against the Tennessee defense. Terry McLaurin coming off of a suspect week going against what is a good Baltimore secondary. I'm going to have to give advantage to Jefferson here. I think he's going to have another nice week, see a lot of targets, a lot of comeback football for the Vikings this year as they really suck. Defense is definitely matter. Jets are projected to have a better day than Bills. I'm going to have to disagree with that. Bills were defense that Kohler was looking to get off the waiver wire. Snagged right out from under him. Nice work, Eaglehoff. I'm going to have to go with the predictions here, though. I think, unfortunately, Eric Deutsch falls into that 0-4 hole. Deutsche Bank not coming up with the loan in time for a victory. Unfortunately, I think the Loch-Ness moves to 3-1 and secures his spot in that playoff top. Moving on to the next matchup here. That's right, folks. We only got 2 matchups left. Get excited. 2020, the Bees' Knees. The Bees' Knees were capped at the knees last week. Tough loss for Coach, and let's see why. He's going up against King of the Tyreek Hill. Both teams 1-2. One team takes a step towards 500 in playoff contention, and one team takes a step towards 1-3, which is not where you want to be. That's a rhyme, folks, and that's the professionalism we bring here on Todd's 10. Looking at the quarterback matchup, Lamar Jackson versus Tom Brady. Got to give advantage to Lamar going up against that Washington football team. Might as well be a football team from the European League, the Champions League, maybe even the English Premier League 1, La Liga 1. Maybe not even in the top Premier League. I don't think they're a very good team, although well coached by Ron Rivera. Maybe turning the corner, but not turning the corner with this matchup. Lamar Jackson has a big day. Looking at the running back position, Kenny Drake, Jonathan Taylor for the King of Tyreek Hill versus Devin Singletary and Devontae Freeman, freshly off the free agent wire, playing for the New York Jets. Got to give the advantage up there. Absolutely huge to Trey Nelson there, King of Tyreek Hill. Absolutely huge advantage of the running back position. That's actually probably that's bad. That's a tough matchup for Coach. Anyways, moving on to the wide receiver position, we got T.Y. Hilton, Cooper Kupp for Coach versus Tyreek Hill, and I can't pronounce his name, Shenault Jr. for the Jaguars. Who knows how to pronounce his first name? His mother doesn't even pronounce his first name. What the rumor is she just went alphabetically through the alphabet, went L, skipped 5 letters, backwards, and continually skipped 5 letters until she put together a good solid name, 7 letters, phonetically 3 syllables. That's exactly what she was looking for in her son's name, and that's exactly what she got. Look for him to have a nice day against the Cincinnati Bengals. And I'm going to have to give the advantage in the wide receiver room to Trey Nelson. I think he has a really good wide receiver room. I think Tyreek has a big day against the New York secondary. Operating out of the slot, not going to see a lot of McCourty, not going to see a lot of Gilmore. Look for him to have a nice day. Looking at the tight end position, Hayden Hurst versus Jared Cook. I think Hayden Hurst is due a touchdown. He got one last week, only got one reception, though. I think he's due at least a couple more receptions this week. And by a couple, I mean two. I'm talking 3 receptions, 45 yards, 1 touchdown, and I think it's enough to best Jared Cook. And that's why I'm going to go with Trey Nelson, though, in this matchup. I think he's got the advantage in the running back room. I think the receivers are going to have the big day. Chenault getting a lot of the ball from the Minshew Mania, from the Mustache Mania. Eagle Hawk, you guys should talk. Maybe a little bit of a double dip. That's what they call the double scoop. Raspberry fudge. Rocky Road, put those two together, you have a raspberry chocolate peanut butter explosion, absolutely good ice cream, and that's what Trey Nelson's team. It's a raspberry chocolate peanut butter explosion, and they're going to explode for a victory this week, a sweet tasting victory. Congratulations, Trey Nelson is favored, and I am going to go with the favorite this week. Already picked a few upsets this week, and this is why we're moving on to the next matchup. This is two teams. This could have been the matchup of the week. You know what? I'm going to call this Matchup of the Week Part 2. That's right, folks. We got Kyle DeGroot versus Justin Bollinger. Declared himself public enemy number 1. At least he was declared on this show. Is he accepting the role? It seems he is. We all like the guy, but he's still public enemy number 1. Maybe public enemy number 2. Or at least 2B. Kyle DeGroot trying to mac Chicago great again. He's macking on Chicago. Why is he macking on Indianapolis? Why is he macking on Cleveland? Both great cities. Both deserve some macking. But let's look at the matchup here a little bit more in depth. Kyler Murray for DeGroot. Drew Brees versus Justin Bollinger. Got to give the advantage to Murray there. Again, I simulated Brees' arm action earlier. Not great. Kyler Murray can really scramble with those legs. 5'9", moves him very fast. Looks like a freight train. Pew! Makes that train sound. Ding, ding, ding. Train is at the station. Kyler Murray going to lead the quarterback room. Looking at the running back, you got Nick Chubb, Frank Gore, the ageless wonder, versus Ronald Jones and Mike Davis. Both running back positions leave something to be desired. Less to be desired, though, from Bollinger. That's why I'm going to give the advantage to the group. He is favored in this matchup by 2 points. I think that running back room is wide. Davis is good for the Panthers, but I'm not sure if he has a big day against that Arizona front line. It's getting better. The linebacking core is getting better in Arizona. Nick Chubb can have a nice day against Dallas. Looking at the wide receiver position, though, this is where Bollinger makes the matchup a little bit more interesting. Tyler Boyd versus Robbie Anderson for Tyler DeGroot versus Mike Evans and Amari Cooper for Bollinger. You have to give the advantage to Bollinger there. Chris Godwin out for Tampa Bay. Mike Evans increased target share. Probably, unfortunately to the delight of what if Godwin is one of us. Mike Evans is one of Team America's, Team Bollinger's team, the public enemy number 1. I can't believe I'm saying that about Team America. Oh my goodness. Anyways, love the country, pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States, and pledging maybe potential allegiance to Bollinger in this matchup. Looking at the tight end position, Travis Kelce versus Hunter Henry. Travis Kelce, a fantasy football dynamo at the tight end position, got to get the advantage to group. In the flex position, Jimmy Graham, now working with Big Dick Nick in Chicago. Think he has a big day. Going against Jarvis Landry. I think he's going to struggle against the Dallas Cowboys. I think OBJ sees a large target share for the Browns. I think he's going to take away from some of Landry's production, and therefore I think Jimmy Graham has a big day. Choking on my own spit. That's not good. That means I've been talking for a little too long, a little too enthusiastic. Todd Kiper Berman Jr. though does not turn down to 10. He keeps it at 11. Spinal Tap. This one goes up to 11. That's what it does. We just want it a little bit louder. And we're talking about loud defenses. We're talking about the Bears and the 49ers. Both stellar defenses, both with great defensive ends, great defensive lines. Although the 49ers is a little hurt by injury. Seems like whatever protein shake they were drinking was not also strengthening their bones as well as their muscles and their tendons. Apparently something was not working because everybody tore tendons. That's a tendon-tearing team. Anyways, Indianapolis is a good offense, but I think the Bears will have a better day on defense than the 49ers. I'm losing it a little bit here, folks. Robbie Gould versus Jake Elliott. I'm going to go with a surprising choice here. I'm going to max Chicago great again. For 3 wins in a row, Kyle DeGroot putting himself in playoff contention for one of the first times in a couple years. That's not to count on Bollinger's team, though. This is a team that will be in the hunt all year long, always in the playoffs. And that's everything for our program today, folks. I am Todd's 10. Thank you for tuning in and looking forward to Week 4. Go football.